Alright, Trekkies and Trekkers, time for the second episode of Review of the Day with The Perfect Mate. Kryosine Ambassador Briam comes aboard the Enterprise with some cargo, ready for a peace ceremony with the Valtian. As the ship heads to the rendezvous, they save two Ferengi from a failing ship. Despite security being assigned, the Ferengi enter the cargo bay and deactivate the stasis field on Briam's cargo, revealing a young Kryosine woman named Kamala. With the Ferengi secured, it is revealed that she is an empathic metamorph who can sense what males around her desire and react appropriately. She was being brought as an arranged marriage to the Valtian representative. Kamala is generating pheromones that can affect males around her, which is why she was kept in stasis until the ceremony. Briam tells Kamala to stay in her quarters, but Captain Picard allows her to travel throughout the ship, with the unaffected Lieutenant Commander Data as her escort. This results in a fight nearly breaking out of 10 forward, when Kamala begins to interact with several minors. The Ferengi seek to bribe Briam to turn Kamala over to them, but he rejects their offer. As he leaves, they attack him, causing him to fall, hit his head, and lose consciousness. The Enterprise turns the Ferengi over to the nearest starbase to stand trial, but Briam is unable to participate in the ceremony. Kamala helps Picard to take on Briam's role, and the two become close. He seeks to resist her abilities and tells her to be herself, and she explains that the woman he wants her to be is who she actually is. They meet with the Valtian ambassador, Chancellor Ulrich, who is uninterested in the marriage and wants to pursue trade agreements. With the agreements made, Picard visits Kamala to say goodbye. She tells him that she has permanently bonded with him instead of Ulrich. Kamala explains that he has changed her for the better, and will continue in her duty for her people to marry Ulrich. At the wedding ceremony, Picard escorts Kamala down the aisle and watches as she marries another. After the newlyweds have returned to the planet, Picard says goodbye to Briam in the transporter room. When asked how he resisted Kamala, the expression on Picard's face reveals how much of a struggle it has been and how much he feels he has lost. Aw, poor Picard. So anyway, let's look at some production notes about this episode. The story for The Perfect Mate was created by Renee Echeverria and Ruben Leder, and then written as a teleplay by Leder and executive producer Michael Piller. A great deal of edits were made to the script by a number of staff members, and Piller felt that it was a difficult one due to the subject matter. As Piller explained to Echeverria in a memo, he felt that Kamala had to be a well-rounded character which would be loved by the viewer in order for the episode to work. Fellow executive producer Rick Berman recalled heated discussions over the content of the script, and following rewrites to the draft, Leder elected to be credited only under the pseudonym Gary Percanti. This was the only time during Piller's tenure as executive producer that a writer chose to be credited under a pseudonym. Piller subsequently praised the episode, saying, quote, "We have Beverly argued the point that Kamala's mission amounts to prostitution, and we have Picard take the other tack, that whether or not we approve, we can't change or interfere with the way these people are. And if you accept Gene Roddenberry's vision, which we are built on, you have to respect that." Two of the scenes seen in The Perfect Mate built upon references in earlier episodes. The morning meeting over tea between Picard and Crusher seen here was previously mentioned at Cupid, while in Family there was mention of Picard taking piano lessons as a child. In The Perfect Mate, he relates that these were only briefly taken because his mother wanted him to. 4 endings were written for the episode, with 2 filmed. Piller referred a trick ending in which Picard daydreamed of objecting to the wedding, but ultimately with Kamala rejecting both him and Ulrich having been enlightened by Picard's influence. Okay then. Prior to working on The Next Generation, Famke Janssen had worked as a model in Europe for 7 years. Her first acting role was on the television series Fathers and Sons, with Star Trek representing her second acting performance. 2 days after auditioning for the role of Kamala, she was on set filming the episode. She later described how this did not give a great deal of time to prepare for the role, and that new script pages would be delivered on a daily basis through the 7-day shoot, which she found difficult due to her lack of fluency in English at the time. However, she said the cast were friendly and described them as a family. Regarding the makeup, she said that on the first day they created a stencil through which they applied the spots on the following 6 days. Jansen said that Kamala was, quote, very intelligent and educated. Berman described Jansen as, quote, about as beautiful as any woman any of us have ever seen, and she gave a delightful performance. Following her appearance in the episode, Jansen was offered a 5-year contract to appear in the main cast as Jadzia Dax on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but turned it down as she did not want to be tied to a long-term contract and felt it would have made her lazy as an actor. The makeup worn by Jansen was used on the actress cast in that part, Terry Farrell, although without stenciling. This is a result of Berman's rejection of the original Trill makeup from the host, with Kamala's makeup suggested as a replacement. At the time of an interview with Starlog magazine in 1993, Jansen said that she would be happy to return to Next Generation to portray Kamala once again. She did not return to the series, but went on to appear as Jean Grey alongside Stewart in the 2000 film X-Men and subsequent films in the series. She found working with Stewart as easy when they were reunited because of their previous work on The Perfect Mate. The Perfect Mate was one of several of the Next Generation episodes where Max Grodenchik portrayed a Ferengi. It was subsequently auditioned for the role of Quark on Deep Space Nine, but this went to Armin Shimmerman. Grodenchik then portrayed Ferengi pit boss in the pilot of Deep Space Nine, Emissary, who was subsequently written to become the brother of Quark, Rom. Michael Snyder went on to appear as another Ferengi in the Next Generation episode, Rascals. Oh, that's interesting. So we'll look at some themes of this episode. Robin Roberts discussed The Perfect Mate in his 1999 book, Sexual Generations. He explained that the premise of A Perfect Mate had been seen elsewhere in science fiction, such as in The Stepford Wives, and said that he found it disturbing when the works of the genre depicted this as a role model for women. He called The Perfect Mate... sorry, hold on. Okay, there we go, okay. What was I? Oh, yeah. He called The Perfect Mate the exemplification of the, quote, depiction of a woman as a passive reflection of a male partner. He compared the Federation non-interference and the people treat women as gifts to the involvement of the United States in the Gulf War in defense of Kuwait, a country which limits rights for women. In Chris Gregory's 2000 book, Star Trek Parallel Narratives, he compared The Perfect Mate to the original series episode A Land of Troyes to the ancient Greek poem The Iliad. He said that the influence of Picard caused Kamala to abandon any potential sense of happiness and replace it with an increased sense of self-awareness and remove the ability for her to legitimately love Ulrich. That's interesting, I guess. So overall, I think this is a pretty interesting episode, and just the way that Picard was able to show restraint with Kamala being around was actually kind of interesting, I guess. So overall, I give The Perfect Mate 3 warp cores out of 5. Well, join me soon as we take a look at Imaginary Friend. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.